It kind of robs the childhood from you because instead of playing, I was always thinking how to supplement my family because there was hardly any income.
Akhilesh, why don't you introduce quickly yourself, what exactly you're doing these days?
I'm a scientist in a Japanese company here in Houston.
I know that you had several financial problems in the beginning of your life. I know now you're doing very well, but at the same time, I think your struggle was very unique.
When I was born, I didn't realize my father has lost his job because he was fighting a case and he was just visiting court. It kind of robs the childhood from you because instead of playing, I was always thinking how to supplement my family because there was hardly any income. But the thing was, he was not looking for a job. He had a big family, seven. IIT Kanpur was a nice place. He didn't want to move his family of seven, including my mom, a nine-member family, to a different place. He loved the place for its greenery and other things, so he wanted to sort of get reinstated. So those things I came to realize later, but as a child, slowly, the worst part was I couldn't share this all with anybody. All my actions and the things that I was doing, I had to do them in a hidden way to sort of support my family. We had a small backyard. And as a child, I would work very hard to grow potatoes or tomatoes or fruit trees just so that, the family, I could feed myself in the backyard.
Very touching.
There's some sort of a social stigma in India that you can't go out and start as a child work. There's no such thing as McDonald work in India. And all of us, all the children, the seven children, I think, I don't know how all of them were thinking, but there was some struggle in their mind started to help and cope with this environment. But one thing all the family has learned, I think that part we can appreciate really, how to really live within your means. That's something we learned so well. It would be like the stingiest way, but still the best way of living, how to be living within your resource. So this was a routine in our family that every year when we go to the next grade, we'll take out those pages clearly, the ones which were unused in the notebooks. We will take three nails and a hammer and a little thing in India we call them pata, but these are like wooden things. You would nail them literally with a needle and thread back into a fresh notebook. So you'll collect pages from the leftover notebooks. So it was hard to afford buying new notebooks. I still remember, one pencil, we would use it till the end. And when it's almost left like an inch, we would put it on we will use the cap of a used pen to push that pencil inside it so that we could further use it. And in a funny way, I can also say, I would even go to the public trees of, there's a fruit, I don't still know the English name, called jamun or am. They were a lot in IIT. And you would know how I had to hide myself that I'm doing. I would climb them, eat them. It's really funny now, but yes, I ate a lot of those fruits just because I felt like, I'm some way supporting myself. Let's not go further there because it's looked really embarrassing to that level. And at the same time, I was coming first in my class. I was a very good student, so I had to hide myself that I'm climbing trees and eating the fruits from the.
In your struggling days, or basically when you were going to school, IIT must have made a big difference in you, even if you didn't have the right financial resources.
Definitely, no doubt about it. It was like a goal. I could see that if you work hard, you can achieve it. This was a nice, clean, green place. Kanpur is not one of the cleanest cities of the world. I can put just like that, and in every sense. And you would be exposed to not only pollution part or the dirtier part of the cities, but to a lot different world. So there was a motivation thing that if you work hard, you can be within this IIT parameter and have a quality life.
We talked about books, we talked about your or your siblings taking some of the tutoring assignment. Was there any other source of income in your family?
The one thing my father used to do to bring some money to the family, he was actually a very good electronics engineer of his self-making, I would say. He could He could fix radios and televisions, but he had no shop or something to get this job going, like a job. So again, word of mouth. So I still remember somebody brought a color television from USA, first color television, at least in IIT,
Interesting.
and it broke. And I think just being in the poorest family, we could see the color television like one of the first because my father worked on it 7 days, and then we all shouted, "Daddy, haath aa gaya," which means, "Daddy, we saw a hand, a colorful hand on the television." When he was working behind, he couldn't see the screen in the front, right? He would take large paper, draw the whole circuit diagram, and figure out what's going wrong. And again, all informal education, but such was his intelligence. He fixed it. So then, we will think now Daddy will get some good money, right? But they were not large. They will get like $10, 500 rupees, right? It was good to run the whole month.
But it was not a permanent source of income, right?
No, so there will be months. There's no.
Another thing which comes to my mind is that you must be around 20 years old when you left IIT after completing your education, 2022, whatever it was. And you said that when you were born, your father didn't have a job. So what was the reason that he didn't search for a job for those 20 odd years?
It's a very tough one. I never had the courage, first of all, to ask him or give him the alternative. Dad, why didn't you go anywhere else? You know, we were not raised that way. Our kids were not raised that way in India to question their dad.
Your mother must have questioned, right?
My dad would go to the court regularly, almost two times in a month. And when he will come back, and my father would tell a very rosy picture that his court case would be resolved very soon. I heard this story, Rajiv, endless time because I was the little one, and he would allow me thinking like I'm not understanding, but it went into my brain that from a 5, 6 year old kid that it went so good, the date went so good. It's just a matter of months. It's just a matter of months. I'll have the job. It's just a matter of months. And those matter of months, Rajiv, never came. In 20 years, 30 years, never came. But each time either he was a very big optimist, or he wanted to keep my mom going through all this struggle, and never wanted to bring her a pessimist view. So my mom was one of those type in the days, like who just give their life to their husband and kids and don't question them. He had maybe a big vision that we can't see, that his kids' education will be very important. When we questioned him later on as we grew up, teenagers, and maybe in anger, fit of anger, we said, "Why didn't you go somewhere, Dad, all these years?" He said he wanted his kids to go through an education system which he thought was the best in it. Very, very cheap and yet very best.
But your siblings must be talking about it a little bit, that, what my father is doing, is he going to get a job or he's not, or...
That, and Daddy always presented that picture to everybody that he'll have a job soon, he'll have a job soon. So none of us ever challenged him, as we said, like, why you don't go? Those were not the ways kids grew up in India that time. And I would say instead of challenging him or demanding from him or even politely asking, everybody was changing his inner core in his own way. And that's the most beautiful part I see among all of us. Everybody changed their ways of life to cope with that pressure of life in their own ways.
How was your struggle with regular day-to-day expenses? I'm pretty sure because you didn't have a permanent source of income, or your father didn't have a permanent source of income, you must not be getting any kind of pocket money.
A lot. But it was some limitation again that I knew that we have. Once in a while, by the way, we would get 10 or 15 paisa. It was enough to buy. I don't know if you can convert it, how many cents it would be. But I remember one thing, maybe this one is a negative. I would collect money. Kind of a leadership, but has a little negative connotation here. I have to admit this. So I was smart enough to collect, I was like a leader. I'll collect, hey kids, let's have all the money together, right? And buy. So my little money will hide in their larger money, and I would get the share equally. But it was equal share, I still think. But yes, there was a little cheating in there, to be honest.
You also